known by the serious nefesh guys. Like this, I thought I'd be off today. We're learning Mishnah Shabbos, but this is not a Mishnah year. Very important to understand that. This is a thinking or method year, which is very unusual. Method means most people don't realize a very important idea. They think, well, you learn Torah, it's enough, right? You learn, you think, and so on. But they don't realize that thinking in and of itself, without being applied to any chokhmah, is a skill, right? Thinking itself is a skill. And then, of course, you apply it to anything, right? The skill of thinking is called a name. It's called logic. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Tzatoi, which is really the derech that I'm using, he authored several works on logic. Okay, but really, the thinking skill itself is something which isn't taught. You know, we just assume that everybody has common sense. Okay, now get into the Mishnah tomorrow, whatever it is. That's a tremendous mistake. Many people, or I find over the years, most people, in many ways, are poor thinkers. That's a radical. That's a strange remark. That's because not because they're bright people, because they've never been taught how to think. You know, same idea. You know, how to drive a car, how to ride a bike, and then, well, where do you want to go with the bike? Same idea. You need to develop the skill. You know, carpenter. When he goes to school, what does he do? He learns about tools, wood, materials, joints. You know how to do everything, right? And then he puts together a cabinet. You don't put together a cabinet unless you know what you're talking. You know what I'm saying? Same idea. Unfortunately, thinking as a skill isn't taught. And therefore, people assume that since the Rebbe Hashem gave them common sense, which I think is not as common as we like to think, they therefore no problem, right? But the flaw comes when you stop a guy and say, excuse me, can you give me a definition of what you just said? Huh? Or what? What kind of a creature is that? Right? Can you break down the components of what you just said? Can you tell me where the halacha that you just said, what is its area? Where does it fit in the whole picture? What? I mean, there's a picture out there? Right? They can't do it because they've never been taught the skill. Therefore, there's two concepts. There's a process and a product. This is a process shear. It teaches you how to think, and it teaches you how to apply that thinking to Torah. Okay? It is not a product shear, which fundamentally means that you don't have to know much, really. You just have to learn how to think. Therefore, the questions that I will ask will if you think that this is going to be an easy shear, you're mistaken. Because thinking is one of the most difficult things of all, as you will see. Okay? Now it sounds so, what's the big deal? We all think, right? And so, you know. But as you will see, to learn how to think precisely and accurately is not as easy, but the rewards are incredible. Because all of a sudden you look at Torah in a whole different way. That's the first idea. So that's what this year is. And as such, what I will be doing is we're going to be learning, okay, and what is interesting in terms of what I want to do is, of course, I will show you what I do. I'm not going to just give you the product, here's the Torah, right? No, I will show you how I arrived at this. And hopefully you will see how I did it. Sure. And as a result of that, you will duplicate or replicate what I do eventually. That's what the whole nature of it is. It's an unusual shear. Most shurim do not do this. They just spew forth chidushim, Rajba, Ritva, Rambam, Ramban, and all that and so on and so forth. But they don't show you how they arrived. Okay? So that's primarily what this shear is all about. For those people certainly who are new, that's what you're headed for. Okay. the mind, which is what we have, does two things when it looks at information. It analyzes and it synthesizes. That's what the mind does automatically. What is analysis? Analysis is a process where you break something down, right? You ask yourself, well, what is this thing? Take anything, any halacha. What exactly is the halacha? And then the next thing you do besides the definition, you ask yourself, what are the different categories in this halacha? Because everything has what's called havchonas. Havchona. A havchona is a categorical distinction. It means it's something, for instance, this chair in front of me, right? I would ask, what's a chair? I need a definition. Who knows what a chair is? Anybody want to tell me what a chair is? You're looking at it. So you already got a major hint. Give me the definition of a chair.
It's a cleat that you sit on.
It's what?
It's a cleat that you sit on.
Good. It's close. A chair is a device that enables an individual to assume a sitting position. It's close, but you see the difference. A chair is really a device. It's an instrument. It's a tool that allows something to happen. What happens? It allows a human to assume a sitting position. Now we can get what's a sitting position and so on, but that's what a chair is, right? So that's the definition, right? However, a chair has many what's called attributes, distinctions, havchonas. What are the distinctions in a chair? Well, it has
4 legs.
It's got, well,
But not always.
who?
4 legs.
You're not always, right? You have one leg and you sit right, flop right on top of that. No, you leave that. You can join. A chair has havchonas. It has material. It has shape. It has form. It has size. It has density. And it has function. Wow, that's all about a chair. Isn't that interesting? You see, what I did, I just took a thing, I defined it, what it is, right? And then I looked at its properties. Tell me something about a chair. Okay? Why? Because we know that nothing is singular. There's always multiple things going on in anything, right? And therefore that's called analysis. Got it? What's the brisker derech? Right? It's astounding. You can ask most people what the brisker derech is. They have no idea, really. They'll tell you all kinds of funny things. It's good pshat. But every derech says they good pshat. Whatever you contributed. What is the brisker derech really? I will tell you. You can define it. And once you define it, you can use it anywhere in Shas. You see? It's interesting. That's the beauty of a definition. The beauty of understanding what something is. The brisker derech is a method of analysis that recognizes that any given halacha has many parts. It's not just one halacha. It has parts. You see, and if you can identify the parts, then you can place many things in Torah. For instance, you can say this, let's say that's machlokes rishonim, right? So the machlokes rishonim isn't about the halacha, it's about one part of the halacha. You see? And that's what brisk does. It looks at a halacha and understands that it has many what's called havchonas, distinctions. And then it can make a chakira in the distinction. Is it A or B? But that A or B chakira, right, is really about only one part. It's not about the halacha. It could be about another part. It's completely different. That's what brisk is. It's very simple. You see. So once you know how to think, then you can learn any derech, really, and understand what it is in general. Okay? So that's what we begin to see. So the mind analyzes. Like I said, analysis consists of what? To define it. What is the definition of a definition? What's the definition of a definition? right? A definition is a statement that describes the true nature of something. So it tells you what something really is. So therefore, the mind analyzes. It wants to know, what is this? And I don't care what it is. It could be any halacha, and so on, you see. And you're going to see when we get into Shabbos and so on. And then it looks for the havchanas, for the conceptual distinctions or categorical distinctions. What is in a chair? You know what I'm saying? A bracha. What is a bracha? What are the areas of a bracha? Because you'll notice that all halachas just fit themselves into different areas. It's like a hard drive. It has, you can give a hard drive on a computer information, but it's got to compartmentalize it first. You got to have compartments, or else you can't just stuff billion bytes into a hard drive. It's got all kinds of rooms, and it can store. The same thing. A havchon is nothing more than a room or a compartment in a given idea. So that's analysis. The second thing that the mind does is synthesis. What is that? Because the first thing you want to know is, what is this? The second thing you want to know is, how does it relate to everything else? There you are. That's all the mind wants to know. What is it? And how does it relate to everything else? It's amazing how simple information really is. Therefore, synthesis is the process whereby you can discover the true relationship that anything has with anything else. And then what you do is, once you see relationships, how this connects with everything else, you begin to realize that the relationships themselves are categories. You see, like this chair. Well, one category is material, another category is size, another category is shape, and so on. So you can actually begin to build a structure. What is a structure? A structure is a device that unifies many ideas into one composite based on its relationships. By the way, you can all ask questions. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, nobody's asking questions. So I assume you don't know what I'm talking about. Or you understand everything.
Or you've been very clear.
Or being very clear. Listen, I'm the last guy that wants to violate what I'm saying. If I'm not clear, I'm a very poor salesman. I'm trying to sell clarity, and meanwhile I'm the most mixed up guy around. But clarity, and that's really the essence of thinking, is to achieve a clear understanding of what you want to know, the information. And therefore clarity will come if you can analyze or synthesize. That's it. That's Klorkeit, as they say in Yiddish. You know? Very simple. Now, it's a little more complex than what I presented, because synthesis itself has many different parts or ways of doing it. You know, you can look at an idea, right? For instance, if I asked you, I want you to measure my room and tell me how many square feet is in it, what would you do? Well, you get down on your hands and knees, you measure the length, then you measure the width, right? And you give me an answer. It's square feet. If the foot was your unit of measurement, simple. But what happens if I said to you, you know, I realized what you did. You went and actually measured the length and you measured the width and you told me an answer, right? But I would love to measure or know how to measure every room in the universe. Tell me how. What am I asking? I'm asking you to generalize what you just did. And specifically, I want to see it. General. That's a whole different idea. So what would you say? What would you say? You'd say, you know, you want a general understanding of what I just did, right? The general idea is length times width is the area. So, wow, that means any room in the universe, we know how to do it. A generalization is beautiful, because it's no longer stuck to a part or one individual instance. A formula is a generalization. It's a generalization of quantity. It's really what it is. it's a quantified generalization, you know. But everything can be generalized, basically, you know. So therefore, generalization is the beginning of putting things together, synthesis. You know, if I want to connect everything, well, what I just do, I just connected every room in the world to one formula. What an accomplishment. It's incredible. You see, you know, if you think about it, mathematicians and scientists are always trying to generalize. They don't want to know about a specific phenomenon. We want to know what this phenomenon tells me about everything. That's called synthesis. You see? So generalizing and then categorizing category, all green cars. Cars is a category, you know. And then to put all the categories in a structure is absolutely incredible. Now you may ask, can you do this to Torah? And the answer is, of course you can do it to Torah. And then if you do it to Torah, it comes incredible clarity. It's clarity which is almost beyond what most people see. Any question? And that's what this method does. It analyzes, synthesizes to achieve an incredible clarity of anywhere in Torah, whether it be Mishnah, Halacha, or Gemara. Okay? So that's the first thing I want to tell you. Second thing I want to tell you is you look at something, you begin to think, and you say, well, I'm going to try to understand what it is. But if you really think about it, it's hit and miss. You may you may understand certain things, but you're going to miss a lot of stuff. Why? Because it's all chance. You know, imagine, I use this as an example. Imagine you get on a plane, right? And you walk into the plane and the cockpit is on the left side, as you see it. If you ever looked in there, there's like 400 buttons all over the place. You know, I'm sure you looked in as well, right? Imagine as you're walking past the cockpit, you hear the pilot say to the co-pilot, what do you think we should check today? What do you think we should do today? What should we check? Which button do you think we should check? What would you do? You turn around and get off that plane because that guy ain't going anywhere. It's called a short trip, right? So the question then is, he's got 400 buttons up there. How does he know what to do? Oh, well, obviously he's not going to leave it to chance. So then how does he know what to do? The answer is, he's a checklist. He's got a checklist. Okay, ailerons, wings, you know, and then as he does that, the co-pilot is going to flip the switches and all that, right? He has a checklist. He doesn't leave it up to random thinking. In other words, if you want to make sure you get something done, you better have a checklist of the objectives that you want done. You don't have that, you're open to chance. And you're going to miss half the stuff anyway if you don't do that. This is the amazing thing. Guys learn without a checklist. So it's therefore it's what's called hit and miss. Big mistake. So therefore, to really help people, you need to have a checklist. You need to have a checklist of halacha. What do I have to do to really understand the halacha? You need to have a checklist to understand Mishnah, and you need to have a checklist to understand Gemara. Right? Good. Check.
Yeah.
Does it sound logical? Sure. Nobody in his right mind would involve himself in a process where he has no checklist. Well, you don't even know what your objectives are. Yes? Simple. Okay. First, I'm going to give you the checklist. One, of education in general. Then I'm going to give you the checklist of halacha, and then Mishnah, and if you'd like, Gemara. That's invaluable. You know what it really is? A checklist is really a map. You wouldn't go from here to Tveria without a map. You know, you need a map. A map tells you, right, where to go. Actually, what is a map? What is a map really? You all know. I've already defined it. A map is a structure, isn't it? A map is a beautiful structure of what? Of geographical points, right? Lake, river, city, town, right? These are geographical points. But a map is a structure because it reveals what? It reveals three very important ideas. One, what is the nature of the geographical point? What is it? Is it a road, a city, a town, a lake? The second thing it reveals, right, is the distance between points. That's really relationships. And the third thing it reveals is orientation. Is something north, south, east, or west of this point. Orient, right? There you are. A map is a beautiful structure. It's funny, you look at maps, you don't even realize what you're looking at. A map is a beautiful structure of geographical points that reveals the three essential items. Well, what is it? The distance, the orientation. And guess what? If you have a map, you can go from California to New York, 2,700 miles, without ever having done it. You see? So what's the objective? The objective is to create a conceptual map, not a map of geographical points, a map of ideas. You see? And the map of ideas is the checklist. It tells you what you have to do. You see? Okay. So what's the fundamental objectives of education in general? One, clarity. You want to know something clear. Yes? What is clarity? Clarity is what I said. It's analysis and synthesis. You to do that, you know it claw. That's what it is. It's not anything, there's no magic in it. The second thing you want to know is depth, profoundly. You want to know an idea, but in a much more profound way. And I will explain what that is when I get into halacha. So not only do you want to know something clear, you want to know something in its depth. Third.
Is there a step before this, like identifying what one should learn or needs to learn?
Yeah, that's curriculum. Yeah, I skipped
Okay,
that.
skipping that.
Because I'm not going into the
Okay.
objectives of any book, but what you're saying is correct. What should you learn? You know, I mean, this is like a whole course in education, you know, and so on. But I'm going to put that aside. Right now, I'm just going to go into when you do learn something, what are you doing? What's your objectives? So one is clarity, the other is depth. The third thing is called comprehensiveness. You don't want to just know one idea. You want to know many ideas, how they all connect. That's called comprehensive. That's number 3. Number 4, you want to be able to remember this stuff. It's called retention, right? All this work, you don't remember a thing, it's terrible. You want to be able to retain this. Yes? Number 5, well, it's called efficiency. If I can learn this in 1 hour, why am I spending 10 hours learning this? Because if I can learn it in 1 hour, then the other 9 hours I can do something else. It's called efficiency, right? To be efficient. That means to do what you want to do in the shortest amount of time with the same quality. That's efficient. And the 6th thing is applicability. How do I apply this information to the real world? There you are. 6 educational objectives. How many people have thought about that, really? Hardly. You know, it's the old hit and miss education. That's what education is, hit and miss. But they've never asked themselves, what exactly are my objectives? And these are the 6 objectives. Actually, you mentioned a 7th, which in many ways could be the first, is what do you want to learn? What should you learn? That's called the curriculum. You know, so I certainly will include that. Okay, great. Now we know what we want to do with whatever we want to learn. Okay. Now, what do we want to learn? What is Mishnayos? Can you tell me what Mishnayos is?
It's a collection of halachic statements.
Good. It's really a collection of halachas, right? Organized into paragraphs, and then chapters, and then tractates, Gemaras, and Masechtas, That's really what it is. The unit of a Mishnah is a halacha, right? That's really all it is. And there are many halachas in a Mishnah, right? And then you organize all the halachas in a Mishnah, the Mishnah is many, into prokem chapters, and then the entire tractate. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to look at a halacha, we want to break it down into its checklists. Remember that? We need a checklist for halacha, believe it or not. So, what is the first thing we need to do? We need to define a halacha. What is the definition of a halacha? Interesting question. It should be the most elementary, it's probably one of the most important words in all of Torah. What's the halacha? What is the definition of halacha? What do you think? If for those who will be here before, hopefully you remember. Although, who knows? What is the definition of halacha? It's a ridiculous question, because everybody knows what a halacha is. But what I'm asking you, give me a definition. Remember what a definition is? It's a statement that describes the true nature of something. So what is a halacha?
A law defining what one can.
Anybody, what do you think? Come on with something? You got something? Don't be afraid. Oh, by the way, I always say this. The most important thing in teaching or education is one word. What the most important ingredient? The most important ingredient that must take place for learning to occur is what?
Conversation.
Who?
Conversation.
What do you say?
Conversation.
You're right. You certainly got to talk. But I'll tell you something interesting, something you wouldn't think about. The most important ingredient for learning to take place, as there are many factors, the teacher, his ability to explain, the fact that you guys have to stay awake. I mean, there's many factors, right? But one of the most important ingredients is called safety. You need to feel safe, that you can say anything you want and you won't feel embarrassed. If you don't have safety, what does it say? In a baishon loimed. That's what it means. In other words, as far as I'm concerned, everybody here is choshev. I don't care what you say, how intelligent it is, it doesn't make a difference. You can say anything you want and you will always be a valued member of this group. So don't be afraid. You don't lose any ego status, covet, if you say anything, even if it's inefficient, deficient, whatever. So, what's a halacha? I need a definition of halacha. Because you cannot develop the objectives if you don't know what it is. Even though we all know what it is. What's a halacha?
A process of behavior to connect with Hashem.
Okay, but you're missing half.
It's a rule.
It's a what?
It's a rule.
Oh, what? A rule? See, the problem with what you said, although it's interesting, is that a rule is a translation. You have to see the difference between a translation and a definition. You can translate, I said, well, halakha is a law. Yeah, what's a law? See, the problem with translation is it demands the same thing. You still need a definition. So we know what the translation, it's a law, it's a rule, it's a regulation, it's a, but what is all these things? What is it? One last chance. Anybody? Okay, I will tell you what it was. Tell me if I'm right. You can argue with me. You can argue with me all the time. I don't really care. Because in this type of class, you need to defend yourself with logic. Right? And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And that's it. So, the definition of a halacha is the required behavior in a given situation. That's it. You can use the word the legal behavior. I don't care what you use. The required behavior, the desired behavior. I don't really care what you say, but I use the word the required behavior in a given situation. Got it? That's it. Therefore, automatically, every halacha has two ideas. Right there and then. You need to know the situation. What's the situation we're talking about? I call it the case. And the second thing you know, what is the din, the conduct, the behavior? Well, what do I do in this situation? Then you could say, well, who's the authority of this? Who said this? Etc., which we'll see. But a halacha is simply a case and a conduct. That's a law. Every law is what do you need to do in what situation. How's that sound? It was good? Therefore, when you now look at a halacha, there are many, many different avchonos. One, these are the objectives of knowing halacha. And therefore, there's no more hit and miss. One, what is the case or the situation or the circumstance? What are we talking about? Two, what's the behavior, the conduct, or the din? Three, why is this the din in this situation? Why? That's called the tam, the reason, the rationale, or the principle. Critical, because the principle is what explains the halacha. If you don't know the principle, you got problems. Because you don't really know why this is, you don't know what's going on. And not only that, you can never look at another case and say, I know what the din is. Because if you don't know the principle, then you don't know what the din is. But if you know the principle in one case, then you could say, wait a minute, I see that it's a case that has the same principle, and therefore must have the same law, din. You see? You cannot be mevin dover mitoch dover, as they call it, unless if you don't know the principle. So the principle is the most critical understanding of a halacha. So we have case, conduct, principle. Three ideas. Fourth idea. There are certain things in a given halacha that don't matter. And then there's certain things in halacha, conditions that do matter. You need to look at halacha and say, well, this does not make a difference, but this does. Those are called the essential conditions of the halacha. What is it in the halacha that is essential? And so we need to know that, and the rest we could discard. You see? So those are the essential conditions of halacha. Number 5.
Isn't everything essential in the halacha?
No.
What can be like?
What kind of?
What can be unnecessary?
What could be unnecessary? You know, for instance, can I cook on Shabbos? Yes? Okay. Does it make a difference what your fuel is? That's non-essential. To have a fuel and to have a fire, that's essential. What the fuel is, whether it be wood or charcoal or gas, it's a non-essential. You see what I'm saying? So you need to understand that. You need to pick out, oh, this is what matters. This, who cares? It's an important way, because a lot of people confuse that. They will pick a non-essential item, right, and make it essential. You know what I'm saying? So that's an important idea that this is what makes the principle, this condition. That's number 4. Number 5 is called the derivation. Why is this din, the behavior of that situation, that's its principle? But who said this in the first place? Who even said, right, that there is a law? What's the authority or the derivation? You see? And under authority you have different subcategories. Who is the author of this law? And what is the authority of this law? How many authorities are there? In America there's feds, state, and local, city. Well, there are 3 types of authorities. What is an authority? What's an authority?
A responsible party that decides what's permissible and what's forbidden.
You know, I would love you to be correct, because you have any idea how many irresponsible parties do this?
Well, that's...
I mean, this world is filled with irresponsible parties. You know, I just, you know.
Zing.
So I would say that's not essential in your
It's not
definition.
essential, okay.
Establishing jurisdiction.
Who?
Establishing jurisdiction.
One who's got the power.
Who's got the power? Yes, really. Authority means who's got the power. Who has the legal right to promulgate laws?
Maybe not right. The legal
Right.
power.
Well, they have the legal right. A federal government has the legal right to make laws. So does a state. So does a city. Who gave them the right? That's another question. Who gave the right? What does the word legal mean? I say, hey, what you're just doing now is illegal. What's that really mean? That it's wrong? Probably. But this, you know, I didn't say you're doing the wrong thing. I said you're doing something illegal. What am I really saying?
You're doing something that disrupts the general peace in the
General
society.
peace.
In the society. To have a normal society, you need laws, you're doing
Domestic
something to disturb
tranquility.
that.
Disturbance is a reason for law. But what does it mean to be illegal? You're providing a reason, you see, which is good. Right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what is illegal mean? What does it mean to be legal?
According to the legislated conduct.
Yeah, but where do they get the power from? There's two types of
An
things.
agreed.
There's a legal thing, and then there's a real thing. Legal things don't really exist in reality. Think about that. Forget about the Torah, because that's different, as you will see. You know? But if there's a law of a speed limit, that speed limit doesn't exist in reality. You know, it's just a law.
Imposed.
It's what?
Imposed.
It's imposed. The concept of legality is that everybody agrees that they will behave in this manner. It's called convention. You see, in the United States, for instance, everybody agreed that they're going to write a document called the Constitution, and that they will abide by the Constitution. They all agreed. If they didn't agree, it's not legal. So the concept of a legal reality means that everybody agreed to observe this particular law.
But the majority.
The majority, yeah, well,
It's not
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Can we change that a bit? Not necessarily agree
True.
to the law, but agree to the allowing authority to be given to those.
Well, that's another convention. That's another agreement. Whatever's
We might not
legal
agree to the
is.
law, but agree to maybe allowing that party, whoever's in
Well,
authority.
what they did is they gave the power of authority to a specific individual or body. But that's also an agreement. A legal thing is nothing more than an agreement based on majority or whatever. So therefore, it's legal. You see, it's not real. There's no reality to it. You know, it's a legal reality. You see, which means that everybody agreed that we will behave in this manner, and therefore, what happens if you don't behave in that manner? What happens?
Whatever
Get
the
punished.
consequences are.
What?
You get punished.
You get punished.
If you get caught.
Yeah. So therefore, something which is legal, okay, you can be taken to a court of law, right? And there are consequences to breaking the legal rule. See what I'm saying? It's called accountability. You see, you're accountable to observe the law, and if not, right, you can be taken to a court of law. Oh, what was the term I used? Enforceable. That's it. A legal rule is enforceable. That's the key to legality. A legal idea A is based on agreement and enforceable. That makes it legal. You see.
Wouldn't it be determined that if you accept the authority of the whatever group body or whatever it is making the law, defining legality?
The what?
You have to give a credence to it, whatever body
Yeah. Well, the majority, because you want to enter our country, you need to abide by the laws. You don't get out.
Or not.
We live here. We own the property. We own this place. You want to come in here, you need to abide by our rules, regulations, and laws. Why? Because that's what we agreed on to live as a society, which is what you said. Why do people make laws? Because if not, society cannot exist. If everybody could do whatever they wanted, it's all over. As the Chazal say, pray for the
government.
The government, yeah, because if not for the government,
Chaos.
it's called the law of the jungle. Eat or be eaten. And what the government does is ensures the sustainability of the society, hopefully. You can't say much in America what's going on. It's being destroyed, but anyway. It's usually what it is, right? Okay, so therefore, under derivation, you have who's the author and what is the authority. Is it min ha-Torah? One authority. Is it midrabanan? Two authorities. Is it, what's the third authority? Is it minhag? Very good. Is it, who establishes minhag? What authority is it?
Sibur.
Who?
Sibur, community.
The community, that's it. So you have three authorities. You have Torah, Rabbanan, and you have minhag, which is community. That's it, basically. There's another one
like federal,
called-
state, and local.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's
Exactly, that's what it is. It's federal, state, and local. You got it. Anyway, authority, okay? And that's basically, there are more subcategories. There are more subcategories in derivation, if you'd like to know that. If it's min ha-Torah, yes? In other words, you have the author and the authority. If the authority is min ha-Torah, you have the following ideas. One, which derivational method does the Torah use to derive this law? Kal chomer, zera shava, right? Binyanov, klal prat. These are methods. How many methods are there to derive Torah laws?
13.
How much?
No, 32.
13.
How much? 13 is Rabbi Shmuel.
30.
But there's a Bryce, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, at the end of Brachos, that says there are 32. 32. Lev, have a heart. Right? There are 32 exegetical, fancy word, or derivational methods. There's really one more, maybe two more. There's halacha Moshe Sinai, and there is pshat, beferish, explicit. Lo signov, right in the Torah. The derivational method is explicit. It's an open verse, text. It's possible. Right. So we have, what's the derivational method used? Two, what's the posik that the derivational method applies to? Everybody has a source posik, except the halacha Moshe Sinai. Right? Number three, what's its tzivui form? Is it an aseh, a lo yisaseh? When the Baruch Shem issued commands, he added in different forms. You see? Then we could say the frequency. How many times is this law or mitzvah repeated? There you are. So those are the additional ideas that you could know. Derivational method, source pasuk, tzivui form, and frequency. That's it. Okay? Now, if it's midrabanan, you also have a number. 1. What type of form is it? Is it a takana or gzera? Yes? Is it a takana or gzera?
What's the difference?
A takana is to do, I say. Like hadlokas ner is a takana. Gzera is don't do. It's equivalent to a sase. See? So is it a takana or gzera? That's 1. 2. Is there an asmachta? Is there a biblical support to this midrabanan? Many of them have, many of them don't. But the Chazal are always looking for some type of a biblical support. It's called an asmachta. Number 3. what was the precipitating event? Why did they do this? Why did they do this? So in a certain sense, it's the principle. But there could be a specific event that occurred, that's why they did it. Or maybe it's apisvara, it's human nature. Chazal realized that human nature is going to do, if you allow A, then B is going to be done. We don't want that, because B is osman Torah, so therefore we forbid A. That's the formula. Okay? So therefore, so that's human nature, or it could be a specific event occurred, and that's why they asked it. So we have 4, right? We have form, asmachta, why. Number 4, this, let's say, Gzeir D'Rabbanan, is it part of a mitzvah or not? Is it an independent thing, like Hanukkah is independent, I don't do the Torah, right? But there are other things which are dependent on the Torah. You know, you can't, let's say, put a pot on a stove Friday, right? That's midrabanan. That's because they were afraid that if you put it too close to Shabbos, it won't be cooked, and then you rake the coals to make it cooked, right? So that mitzvah, or that gezer is connected to what? Bishul, the Isur Bishul. See? So what mitzvah is it connected to? Very important. And the last 2 is, which Bezdin did it and when? There you are. Those are the ideas of, if it's Rabbanan. And of course, if it's Minhag, constant, which community, when was it, and why, if you're going to use that. Basically, that's Minhag. Okay, there you are. That's derivation. Now, don't get frightened, you know, because there's a lot of stuff. But I'm going to, out of all the stuff I tell you, there's only a couple of ideas you have to do, really, which is the most frequent in any given. I'm just being very thorough, so I don't want to frighten you. Okay, so, case, conduct, principle, essential conditions, and derivation, this is all analysis. Now we go into synthesis. What is the area of this halacha? Where does it fit in a larger area? Now we begin to ask ourselves, what does it connect to? So that's the concept of area or category. You see, you know. Well, take anything, you know. If halacha is usually a detail of a larger area. So what is that area?
Shabbos, for instance.
Yeah, you know, so you can't. You can't cook. You can't put a pot on the stove erev Shabbos. What's the area? That's a gzera of bishul. So bishul is the larger area. You see. Then where does bishul fit? That's all the malachas and so on. So you can have a category, and then the category, right, goes into a structure which is much bigger. You see. Those, therefore, are the synthesis. Okay? Okay, it's interesting. You have 7 different halachic objectives. Why is that tremendous? Because you now know what you need to answer. You know what to look for. You know what to look for, and you know what to answer. And what's even more important, if you learn any pirush, if you learn any commentary, you can see exactly what he's answering. You can answer, what's he telling me? What the information that he's telling me is the answer to what? Which objective? So you can actually evaluate a commentary. It's beautiful. You can know what a commentary is telling you, which objective is he answering. Is he giving me the case, the conduct, the principle, the essential conditions, derivation, category, structure. What is he telling me? That's very valuable. Because if you know what he's telling you, then you also know what he's not telling you. And therefore you have to look a field. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize, what I've given you is a measuring stick that you can actually measure a commentary and determine what is he telling you. You see? Very important. And then you know Well, I still got some other ideas I gotta answer.
Uh,
You gotta go look for more meforshim. See what I'm saying? Great. The most important ideas of these whole bunch of things which I've just told you is what's the case, obviously. What's the din, the conduct? 2, 3, principle. Why is this true? Why is this law? Why is this the din of this case? 4, who's the author? 5, what's the authority? And 6, can we identify the larger area? That's it. You don't have to, I mean, if you want to be, really what's called comprehensive, fine. But those are the 6 major ideas that when you look at a halacha, that's what you're going to look at or try. Okay? Great. So, let's begin. That's enough theory. Any questions about any of this? I mean, I was that clear? Wow. But you realize I've given you invaluable information. You don't realize that. I've shown you the map of every halacha. I don't care where it is. What is the pieces of information that you need to know? Now you can be thorough, I gave you a lot. Or you can be more essential, case, conduct, principle, author, authority, and area. See? That's great. So you can look at mamish what is going on. So, we're going to learn Shabbos. So, what's the first thing we need to do? We need to define Shabbos. Sounds funny. How many Shabbos have we observed? A lot. Who can give me a real definition of Shabbos?
Day of rest.
Who?
A day of rest.
A day of rest. It sounds like a translation to me. Because the word Shavas means to rest.
Cessation is also a translation, or?
Cessation, yes, it also means rest. Well, the first thing I want to ask you, or show you, is this. What is Shabbos part of? I will, you ever see, who? It's part of the week, that's true. But I am going to give you it's called, you remember sentence completions? You have a sentence and you got to complete it. One of those horrible days when we went to high school, or college, whatever. They gave us sentence completions. Yeah. Shabbos is a type of sentence completion. What is it? Shabbos is nothing more than a certain type of who?
Return.
Kedusha in time.
True. I mean, what you're saying is true. It's something more essential. Much more hit the button. Shabbos is a type of moed. How do we know that? Well, it happens to be in Seder Moed. That makes it obvious. Right? Isn't it a type of moed? So therefore, what we really need to do is define moed. And if we define moed, guess what? We've defined Shabbos. Because if Shabbos is a type of moed, then we need to define it. So what have I done? I've gone up. Right? I've gone from Jerusalem, I've just gone to the map of Israel. You see? Because somehow I felt that I could define Shabbos, but I said, well, what does Shabbos belong to? So what I've really done is I've synthesized before I've analyzed. You see? So Shabbos is a type of moed. So we need a good definition of moed. What's a good definition of moed?
Appointment in time.
What?
An appointment in time.
An appointment in time. It's part of the definition, but obviously need much more than that. I mean, if I make an appointment with you, that's Shabbos. So obviously the definition is insufficient. What is the definition of a moed? You're moving your hand, Mom. You sound like you're about to spit it out.
I would like to.
You'd like to, huh? Okay. Come on, guys.
It's a collection of times, special times. It's like a group of,
It's a collection?
like in other words,
Is that what it
it's
yeah.
not just one time. It's different.
Well, you're partly right, but it's not enough. You know?
Designated time, moed.
A designated time, very good. You're half right, or you're partly right. But it's not enough. Is Shabbos just a designated time? Is that what a moed is? It's certainly part of the definition.
Where specific behavior is required.
Or forbidden.
Okay, forbidden. Okay, so here's where I would define moed. A moed is a designated time period, you said, in which activity is regulated or controlled, either being required or forbidden. That's how. Now we know what a moed is. It is activity is regulated based on a designated time period. Without the concept of activity, you're like, what about it? I can understand it's a designated time period, but so what? To do what? You know what I'm saying?
We don't know yet.
We know enough about Moed, we know enough about Shabbos because we've observed it. So on that, yeah.
Isn't every time have designated behavior?
No. To marry a woman, is there a designated time to marry her? Kiddushin. No. You write a ksuba, is there a designated time?
There are times you can't.
Well, when it's invoked, if you have to.
But it's not time.
No,
for
it's not
instance,
time
Zroim.
designated.
Zroim. Is there a time period for Zroim? Truma? Ma'aser? No. There's no time, right? It's not a designated time period. A moed is a specific time period. 7th day of the week, 15th day of Nisan, 15th day of Tishrei. Those are designated time periods. Most of Torah is not designated. If you have to bring a chatas and touch him, was that designated time? No.
There's the negative to that.
What's the negative?
There are designated times you cannot.
No, but
Maybe
true.
time limit.
No.
Most mitzvahs in the Torah are not time connected the way a moed is, right? Like I say, the whole Seder is run. You know, a bracha is not time dependent, right? It's activity dependent.
Oh.
So is truma, ma'aser rishon, ma'aser sheni, all of chalav go right, noshim, right? Yevomus. It's not time dependent. It's the woman that's us, right? You were ksuba writing a document, Nidoram saying neda, I can make for the Nidoram, right? A get is there a designated time where you give a get? No, you just give a get when you're sick and tired of the marriage.
Rabbi, I
Say,
think
it's or nezikim, bavakama, bavatzia, bavaras. None of these are time dependent. They can be dependent on other things.
I think what they're saying is they're talking about designation as something that happens.
Yeah, the
In
uniqueness
other
about
words, when
moed.
something is hal, it does, maybe the reasons are different, that something else has to take place as a consequence.
Yes, most
Like
that take
was-
place, or else why do the mitzvah? But moed is specific that the time period demands an activity, something to do with activity. It demands activity. You see what I'm saying?
When we're learning brachot, we're talking about the Shema having certain time parameters. We have to say it before a certain time. Things. So we do have time designations during the Chol as well. So I think we need to tie it, when we talk about time and designation of time in Shabbat or Moed, we have to tie it to something else or expand the definition of it.
Well, when the 7th day of the week arrives, immediately it will control or regulate your activity. It will make demands on you purely because it's the 7th day. And it will be forbid things to you, prohibit things to you, because it's the 7th day. The time is the cause of the activity regulation, nothing else. You see what I'm saying? That's what a moed is. A moed is when the time is responsible, or is the true causation, right, of activity regulation. And it will talk to you in two ways. You need to do certain things. What are things you have to do? What do you have to do on Shabbos?
Kiddush Hayom,
Kiddush,
Oneg,
Oneg, Havdalah, Kovet, Hadlokas Ner, right? Neshama Yisrael.
Now, so
Like
question.
that. What?
Tisha B'Av is called a Moed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And there's
because
it's not like the second Tisha B'Av comes in that that's the cause of
it is
regulation.
sure. What is Tisha
Well,
B'av
it's a fast day,
regulate?
but there's many fast days.
No,
you
you're
say
saying-
every fast day is a Moed.
Well, of course, that's why kindness is in Moed, right? That's the last time I checked. It
It's
was
not.
Moed, huh? Well, when Tisha B'av arrives,
Mhm.
it's a specific day. It's the 9th of Av. Doesn't it talk to you and say, excuse me, there are 5 things that you can't do. Well, to me, that sounds like it's regulated activity. But what causes that is the 9th of Av. It's the time that causes the activity to be regulated, either being required or forbidden. You see? It's unique.
Isn't there something more than the regulations? That means the day itself is holy. Even if you don't keep Shabbos, let's say. Oh,
Well, you're going
besides
into
for
you're going into underlying ideas. Why can it do this? So these are clearly greater dimensions. But the simple, specific definition of a moed is a designated time period in which activity is regulated. Either it's forbidden or required. That's really what a moed is. That's its essential idea. Then, of course, you can go to a why. Why does Shabbos do this? You see, that's principle. What I want is just a definition that we could begin with. We can go to why, what are the deeper understandings of Shabbos and so on, you know?
But the moed, does it have to have both characteristics, or
You mean
one or
required
the
and?
other?
You mean required and forbidden? Good
You
question.
mean one or the other?
Well, how many Moadim are there? How many Moadim are there really? Think about it. I think it's 15. You know? Shabbos is 1, let's count them. Shabbos is 1.
You're not counting Chol HaMoed?
What?
You're not counting Chol HaMoed?
You could or could not, yeah. That's part of the Moed.
21
So what do we have? Let's count the
Who's
Moadim. How many are there? Okay, Shabbos is 1.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Chodesh is 2. Yes.
First,
Rosh Hashanah,
Kippur, Sukkot,
Kippur, Sukkot,
Torah.
Shmini Atzeres, which is its own holiday, Hanukkah, Purim,
Pesach.
Pesach,
Ba'im.
Shavuos is 10, and the fast days. Right?
How about Tu B'Shvat?
It's only for those people that love to eat fruit. It's not really, there's no mitzvah to eat fruit. It's an inyan.
It's like Lag Ba'omer, I guess.
Huh?
Tu B'Shvat would be the same as Lag Ba'omer.
Yeah,
The same
it's an
category.
inyan. An inyan means there is something significant about doing it, but
Don't say Tachan.
and you don't say tachma in many places.
True.
Yeah, guy dies, you don't say tachma. I remember I was once in a shul, where they didn't say tachma that day, So some guy gets him, said, excuse me, why are you not saying tachma? Because that Rebbe died. He said, if that was the case, you forget about tachma all the year. Because Rebbe's died on every day of the year. So he said, you want to say tachma? Okay, you got to bring out liquor and cake. Everyone won't say tachma. It's got to mean something. Just because somebody died doesn't, prove it. With liquor and cake and herring, the old, kichlach, Anyway. But anyway, so that's a definition of a moed. So if we know what a moed is, we now can define Shabbos. Shabbos is a designated time period. We got to put in the time period, namely the 7th day of the week, in which activity is regulated, either being required or forbidden. That's it. Same thing. We just now have to insert the time period. Wow. It's nice. We now know exactly what Shabbos is. There are many dimensions of Shabbos. Well, why? Why does the 7th day do this? What's its principle? What's its reason? Okay, that's hashkafa. There are a lot of different ideas and so on, But the key concept, of course, is the definition, the halachic definition of Shabbos. Okay? What do we do next? And this is very, very important. And then you realize why we need a good definition. Because that definition includes the major areas of study in Shabbos. It's the beauty of the definition. It tells us what do we got to study in Shabbos. What are the major areas? Look at the definition and tell me what the major areas are. See? What are the major areas?
And then obviously we want to apply Shabbos to the definition we just gave about Moed.
Where?
And therefore,
For how long?
When you look at the definition...
What are the regulations?
Who?
What are the regulations?
How many times?
Long term.
How many times?
It's forbidden.
Required?
Right.
There you are. So we have two areas. What are the required activities? And what are the forbidden activities? Wow. That's two major areas that you can study. Yes? Any others? This is just from the definition. That's why a definition will set up the major areas of study.
Well,
You
it
see?
starts out designated, so it's like when and for how long.
Well, that's the time period. Tell me all about time period. Right? For instance, what are the different ideas in the time period that we have to know about Shabbos? One. When does it begin? When does it begin? Time period has a beginning. When does it end? How long is it? You know, right?
shouldn't we also include?
What about time period in the North Pole when the day is like 6 months? Maybe somebody could tell me what you do there,
6 minutes Shabbos.
right?
It's a lot of chumah.
It's a lot of chunk, yeah. You gotta chunk every day.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Right? What do you do in the areas north? I forgot the line. It's a line, you know, like in Sweden, you know, the sun doesn't set for 3 months.
No Jews there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Sweden, you know, the upper Sweden, you know, what was that?
No Jews there anymore.
Yeah,
it's,
it's-
a point. It's outside parameters of what we should be talking
No
about.
smart Jews anyway.
So the question is, you know, what do you do on the moon for those guys who go to the moon? Or what do you do in a satellite? The satellite orbits the Earth every hour. Maybe you tell me when Shabbos is?
So you can say, where does it apply?
What was that?
Where does it apply?
Where is Shabbos?
Yeah.
Where is Shabbos on the Earth?
Yeah.
Right? The international date line.
Is it only on
What's
Earth?
called the seventh day? Where is the seventh day?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is all under the area called time period. Look how many ideas, you know, and there are whole svarim written on this. You know, the Shkia, the Rabbi Tam, the Tzeitzak Kachabim. This is all, when does it begin? When does it end? You know, the international date line, there's svarim written on that. You know what I'm saying? Which means, where does the day begin? You know? So we have it, you know. So machlokes on where it begins. You know, is it arbitrary, what mankind decides? Does it begin in the, which is the international date line? Some people hold it, the international date is Yerushalayim. It begins and so on, you know. And so, you know, a lot of ideas, all about time period. You see, so when we look at the definition, we realize, wait a minute, that designated time period involves a whole area of halachas. You see? Forbidden activities is a huge area of halachas. Huge. Required activity is a whole bunch of halachas. Right? So we walk away, that's the beauty of a definition. It identifies the actual areas, which gives us a hint. Wow, what happened? The sun has come out. It's not going to snow now, forget it.
It will.
What?
For the next 5 minutes, it was.
Yeah, but that means it's peeking out already. It's like,
No.
anyway,
Zimani.
you hear the vote.
Yeah, I think it's
You understand why definitions are important? This isn't just, you know, it's cute. I want to make you guys miserable. No, it's not about that. Because the definition of something will always tell you what are the major areas of study. And that always automatically is a very important organizing idea. You see? Should I give you another example? Besides Shabbos? Seder Noshim, women. What's the definition? Not of women. You cannot define. You cannot define it. I was reminded of the joke where somebody was walking on California beach and he saw something in the sand, right? He picked it up and he saw it was a lamp, one of these oil lamps, you know? And it looked all dirty, so he started rubbing it. Out came a genie. So the genie said to him, "You have released me after 2,000 years. One wish." You know? So the guy's thinking, he says, "You know, I always wanted to go to Hawaii, but I'm afraid to fly. Build me a bridge from California to Hawaii." That was his wish. So the genie says, "Are you crazy? You have any idea how much concrete that is? How much steel? It's 3,000 miles. So the genie says to him, "You need to make another wish, I'm sorry." So the guy says, "You know, I just got married 2 weeks ago, and I can't figure out my wife. Can you tell me what women are all about?" So the genie said to him, "How many lanes did you want on the highway?" Okay. You know, somebody just told me another one which is cute. There was a lion who just got married. And so different animals were coming over and giving him mazel tov. Whatever. So in comes a mouse. And the mouse says to the lion, "Mazel tov." So the lion looks at the mouse and says, "Excuse me, who are you? You're nothing. You're a mouse giving a mazel to a lion. It's like a joke, you know?" So the mouse says, "No, you make a mistake. I was a lion also before I got married." Anyway, so much. And now I'm a mouse. Anyway.
Seder Noshim.
What?
Seder Noshim.
Yeah, what's the essential idea of
What
Seder
about that
Noshim?
bridge?
What?
How many lanes you want, right?
What's the essential definition or idea? It's really a concept. What is the central concept of Noshim? The whole Seder. Let's really synthesize this. The answer is?
A species.
A species.
This is zoology.
Yeah, it's a study of zoology, huh? It's all about, it seems to be all about women. In fact, it's called Noshim, women. And we look at the laws there, basically all about women. But not really. Noshim is really about bailus, or ownership. Ishus, which is marriage, is a form of ownership, according to the Torah. Ki yikach ish isha, a man owns a woman, and he can buy her. You know, he can buy her with, pruta. Never understood why any woman would sell herself for a pruta. Beside the point, right? But it's about ownership. One of the objects that you own is called a woman. So really the essential idea in Noshim is ownership. Bailus. Interesting. In fact, you see that, you know where you see that? In Kedushin, the first mission is how you acquire a woman. And Kinyan. You know, mission and so right? And the second mission is how you acquire. Then it goes from animals to avodim. What's it doing there? Because Kedushin is all about acquisition. You see? So bailus is really what Seder Noshim is about. You see? So who can give you the legal definition of a Baal? What is bailus? We need to define it. Remember, is ownership a real reality? No. It's a legal reality. Remember I said what legal is? That we all agree that you own this. It's legal. We agree on that. And therefore, there are consequences if somebody steals it. But bailus, or ownership, is a legal concept, or legal halacha.
Although,
right?
of course, in this matter, it's also
in
true.
Torah, which is interesting, Torah,
Yeah.
any legal matter is a reality. That's a mighty difference. See, in laws of countries, well, we all agree, but so what?
It's reality.
Because in one country, this is the law, and guess what? In other countries, it's not a law. You can break it, do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? But in Torah, a legal concept, a legal reality, is what's called an ontological or existential reality. It's real. It's not fake or agreement. You know where you see this? Many places. But one of the interesting places that you see it is Mitzvah, Tzuras. If you speak Lashon Hara, so the Torah warns you, the first thing it hits is your house, the Tzuras. You don't learn your lesson, the next thing it hits is your clothing. And the third thing it hits is you. That's the progression if you don't stop speaking Lashon Hara. What does my house have to do? Is it just really to cause me monetary problems? No. Because when you own something, you really are connected to the item existentially. We don't see that. Lesigno isn't an intervention in your ownership. It is an intervention in your being. It's a different way of looking at ownership. When you own something, that thing is connected to you in reality. So if somebody steals it, he's harming you in reality, not legally, where, well, we agree that we own this. No, see? But anyway, so therefore, the definition of bias is what? What's the definition of bias? Give me a definition of ownership. You know, we all know what ownership is, but look how difficult it is to define something. It's like, huh? You know? Because we've never really thought about these things. We just know what it is. But we need to define it, because if you don't define it, you don't really know exactly, and you can't identify the areas. So I will tell you what the definition of ownership is. Ownership is a legal state in which an individual has rights of control. That's all. It's a legal state, which means everybody agrees, that you have rights of control over an object.
Why does everyone have to agree?
Because
everyone doesn't agree, but you are the legal owner.
no, but that's agreement, yeah. Or it's a legal state, it's not a real, you know, if we don't agree, guess what? The whole country's gonna fall apart. You walk to the house and take everything you own, because we don't agree what ownership is. So what happens is ownership is a legal state in which an individual has rights of control over an object. I can do whatever I want with my property. I can destroy it. I can benefit from it, use it. I can give it away. See? I can do that. You can't. If you do it, you're a ganav. You see? So once we made a definition of ownership, the legal state in which an individual has rights of control, what are the different areas of ownership? We can figure it out.
Question that one thing.
Yeah?
That I have the right to destroy. It's true that no one else can really stop me from doing that.
Yes.
But
There
really,
are-
I don't have the right of destroying it. It's an avera of Baal Tashchis.
But what happens if you have food? Are you allowed to consume it, eat it? Of course you can.
Of course.
Right? So there you are. I mean, obviously things have limits,
Mm-hmm.
but you can ultimately destroy it. I mean, you eat that steak, it's no more steak.
But that's called proper usage.
Fine. So all you've introduced is the concept of even usage has limits.
Yes.
Fine. I mean, the Torah, think about it. The Torah limited on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see. So what are the ideas or areas of ownership? One, how do you create ownership? Kiddushin, Kinyan. How do you create it? How do you dissolve it? Gittin. Or how do you dissolve ownership? One,
Give you a get.
you can what?
Or
In a
what?
woman, it's a get, or the death of the Baal. But how do you, what about the
Sell it.
object? Who? You
Give
sell
it
it.
away, sell it.
You gift, matana.
Mafkara.
You mafkir it, great. You sell it, right? And so on. So look at this. So how do you create ownership? How do you dissolve it? Right? What is ownership? What are his rights? Right? What are his rights? In Ishus, what are the rights of a husband to his wife? Intimacy is one. Nobody else can do anything, right? He can be made for her neder. He can annul her vows. Those are property rights. Sounds funny, but they're rights that the Torah gave to a husband. Then, well, what are the obligations that a husband has to his wife? Right?
Luxusvereine.
What was that?
Yeah.
Share-Luxusvereine.
Exactly. So that's part of ownership. That's a whole area. What are your obligations? What are the obligations of a wife to her husband? None. But anyway, what, well, the major obligation is to the husband. But anyway, what are the obligations that a woman or an object has to the owner? You see, there are many areas once we know it bailus. You see? That's the beauty of understanding what something is. You can then create the areas, and every area has halachas. In fact, halachas are nothing more than what? Laws in any given area of a central concept. You see? This is clarity. That's what it is. Your claw. So if you're learning Hilchas Kinyonim, you know what it is. It's the method of acquisition or creation of a legal state called bailus. Right? And then you can begin to look at acquisitions. What are kinyonim? Does it depend on the object? Does it depend on time? You see? What kind of objects can you own and what can't you own? You see? There are objects you can't own. See? For instance, what object can't you own? Kilayim.
Intellectual property.
You can't, well,
No.
that's that.
Well,
Yeah, no,
that's-
it's a, no.
That's a.
The question is there such thing as ownership? Is intellectual property an object?
Yeah.
And if it's not an object, you
Can
don't
you
own it.
Can you own a process?
Can you own a process? Exactly. These are very important patent. Patent law is all about this. You know, is a process owned? You know, or maybe just a product.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? These are really numerous laws and patents. And with Yiddishkeit, it's because the Hasag is full, whatever, and so on, you know. But the key is, don't fool yourself. Define it. Don't be satisfied with the fact that, well, I know what it is. You tell me what ownership is. Of course I know. I own a whole bunch of stuff. But you don't know what it is. And the beauty of knowing what it is that you can take every halacha you learn and sort it into the right area. That's clarity. It's the beauty of it, you see? Just like we did with Shabbos. Either it belongs to forbidden activities, or it belongs to required activities, or it belongs to time period.
Can I ask you something?
Sure, you can ask me something. Wow.
Do you have a set method for defining something? What's the method to
To
define?
define, you know, definitions are very difficult. They're not easy to come up. You really have to ask yourself, you know, it's like I gotta pull out in your guts. You know, I know what it is because I experience it. But what am I experiencing really? You see? And if you do it long enough, you begin to come up with some sort of a workable definition. It may not be precise, but you'll get more precise as time goes on, you know? If I ask you, what's a car? How would you define a car?
It's an object that takes you from place A to place B.
Very good. See, you got it. A car is a device that enables an individual, right, to travel from point A to point B. That's what a vehicle is. A vehicle is a device. It's an instrument. It's a wherewithal, right, that allows you to travel, right, from point A to point B. That's all, right? How many types of cars are there? Well, those are variations already. How many kinds of vehicles are there?
Trucks.
What? There's cars,
Planes.
there's trucks,
Trains.
there's planes,
Trains.
there's boats, right? There's scooters, motorcycles. Who? Bicycles. You see, so what we've done is synthesize. From the definition, well, a car is a vehicle that allows you to go from point A to point B. Well, how many types of vehicles are there? So I've just connected car to all these other types, you see? That's clarity, that's the key. You see? Don't fool yourself. Either you know what you're talking about or you don't. What you need to do is admit that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's the beginning of learning. When you say, I don't know what you're talking about, you are now stage one of learning. Now you can proceed to, maybe I gotta find out what you're talking about.
Know what you don't know.
Yeah, know what you don't know. Don't fool yourself. Any questions? So next week we go further, really begin to look at Shabbos, because I think this is a great foundation, right? And so on, you know. I would, for those people who've taken notes, you should review it. I want to tell you something. The main thing in this, it's like anything else. You need to develop the habit of thinking this way. your brain is going to fight you. It's going to say, give me a break. What are you doing? You know how much energy I have to use to do this? You know, that's what's going to happen. Because you know why? Because we are all slaves of habit. That's what we are. We're slaves of habit. We've grown up being sloppy in our thinking. You see, that's the problem. But really what we now want to do is we want to take the sloppiness and now precision, make it precise. That takes energy, it requires determination. You see what I'm saying? In many ways, you know, so in the end you have to want to do that, you know. Many things that take determination. One of them is thinking correctly. The reward, however, is awesome. You will understand, we only just did halacha. You will understand halacha the way very few people understand halacha. When you now learn a commentary, you know exactly what he's saying. But I want to tell you something else which you don't realize. We know we learn Torah, and I'll end with this. We know we learn Torah. What do we get for this? It's called schar, reward. The reward is a certain type, what's called ha'ora. It's a ha'ora. It's an incredible divine illumination, which we will get in the future world. I want to tell you something interesting. The greater the clarity, the greater is the ha'ora. Yes. When the Rosh says, I want you to know something, V'shinantem levanecho, Chazal say, Shehem chudodim beficho. What do you mean? It should be so available to you that if they ask you in the middle of the night, by the way, what's halacha? Immediately you spit it out, right? In other words, the Torah doesn't want you to know something. It wants you to know something with as great a clarity as possible. The schar elam haba of your Torah depends on several factors. One of them is how clear do you know this? How much time did you invest in my laws? And the second major factor is how much did you give up to learn? Mesiras Nefesh. The reward in Olam Haba depends on Mesiras Nefesh, and all of you got tremendous amounts because you all came in the rain. Yeah, it's Mesiras Nefesh.
We came in rain, snow, and sleet.
And sleet, yeah. That's right, you know. So it's triple, you know. So you all will fulfill the Mesiras Nefesh, which is great. And you should know that from Tzara Agro, Chazal say, according to the what? The anguish, the agony, the effort is the reward. But the second thing is the mitzvah itself. The greater the clarity, the greater the ha'ora. That's why bother thinking like this? Because the reward is infinitely great. And we don't even know the reward for Torah. But whatever it is, it's infinitely greater for somebody who knows it clear and somebody knows it superficial. So this whole process of thinking is not merely a luxury. No, it's Olam Haba, a different type of Olam Haba. Good luck. See you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions, by the way? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
If you stick with me for 9 weeks, you're going to walk away after 9 weeks with a different headset.
Different what?
Headset.